topic now is security monitoring using netflow statistics at our university. It's not just focused on the HPC part, but also spoken generally. Actually, it's not just netflow monitoring, but much more other data. My name is Zahnd. I'm from the infrastructure group, and the apprentice which made the application isn't anymore an apprentice, and fortunately it works at our group now. And he's really talented with programming some GUIs. Okay, the agenda. First, going to tell you some things about monitoring logging in general, then the magic that happens, the problems we face with security monitoring, and at the end, question and answers. The network at the university looks something like that. We have the core, as everybody knows. We have access to the internet, border firewalls. Special thing, we have the institutes, which are sometimes protected by a firewall, sometimes not. They can decide by their own which firewall they want to use. Is it Fortinet, Juniper, don't know what. They actually also can manage the rule base by themselves, and that's a huge problem. The HPC cluster in the core. You see students, some numbers, 16,000 people with employees together, about 22,000 on the network, and much devices, routers, switches. So it's a huge network. It's heterogeneous, which is a second problem. Logging monitoring, I've started in the security group 2 years ago, and the logging monitoring was, let's say it was there, but it wasn't usable for us to investigate in incidents or something like that. We just had one syslog next generation server. Data hot was just 1 day on it, 0 day warm, and the rest was on the archiver. So if an incident happened, we had to know in which logs we had to search, and then got the correct logs from the explicit day from the archiver, and then search through scripts. Took hours to investigate. We had one netflow NFSen, it's a product from Switch, NFSen server that just logged the netflow data. Is everybody familiar with netflow? What it is? Netflow is the information, it's from router mainly and firewalls, and it says host A has communicated with host B over this port. And with higher versions of netflow, you have some more information like how much data was sent, what was the TCP flags, and so on. It's just who talked with whom on which ports. So the problem was no one looked at the logs. They were here, but no one looked at it. In case of an incident, collect logs manually, very time-consuming. And in case of security, every user could access almost every log on this particular syslog server, which is, from a policy aspect, not very good, because there are also usernames within it. And the main problem, we had no visibility of our network. In security, visibility is the main thing. We need to know what is going on our network to be able to react. If we don't see it, we're lost. So we decided to create a new logging infrastructure. It looks like that. We're at the moment under construction. The main part which is running, which I'm going to talk a little bit more afterwards, is Curator. It's a CM solution, security information and event management. Here are all the security relevant messages like user login, firewall denies, and so on logged. Then we have a log, a great logger. It replaces the old one with Elasticsearch on it, with Logstash and Greylog. All these parts are open source and free available. Another thing is the PRTG system. It's like it's polling through SNMP, gets data, performance data, and stores it in a database over, you can choose how long. And another thing is to just monitor the network mainly is the spectrum from CA group. Okay. Threats we see mainly are virus, Trojans, botnets, infected hosts within the public area. Public areas where the students are in the wireless network. Then often stolen user accounts through phishing attacks. They are very hard to detect because researchers work all over the world, so we cannot decide if an access from China or anywhere else in the world is rogue or not. So we cannot just say, oh, okay, VPN connections occur only from Europe, and the rest we drop it. So doesn't take long. We have a call, and which says, hey, why can't I log in? And also some hacked websites, but that's not often happening. So I missed a really important part, and it's that one, the amount of data we collect. So we have at least 90 log sources. Log sources are servers, router, switches, VPN gateway, Active Directory services that sends information into the QRadar or into the logger. And you see flows, net flows per day, approximately 90 million, events 65 million a day. So the question is, who looks at this data, or how can we get the information from all this data that is reasonable for us or important for us? And that's where the magic happens. The key word is correlation. As I said, the QRadar CM system, what it takes all the log information from all those devices and looks over it and says, okay, on this server we have approximately 100 failed logins from the same user. And on this device we have firewall denies 1,000 in the last 5 minutes. He puts all those informations, put it together into a logical offense, we say. So we have then offenses like, so how could I say them? Like possible local worm infections on an explicit host because he sees, okay, the host makes connections to all over the network, to all hosts in the network. He does scanning through UDP or TCP. And from that, we can shorten all or should I say it? With that tool, we can see just the important things from all the messages. And from our part, we are just 2 people to manage all the security from the university, from our network. It's almost, without that, impossible to see what's happening on our network or what is dangerous. For the HPC, I think the infrastructure is almost look like that. We have the firewalls in front of the computing nodes and the public nodes. We collect netflow and syslog data from those. We collect netflow and syslog data from the routers in the core, and also from the border firewall and the router in the outside network. So we can actually see if an attack comes from the outside, go through the network, we can exactly see which path did it took, and also where was it blocked or did it went through. Because the netflow data is is only created if the data went through the firewall. So, and the firewall deny from syslog are always created. So we can see if an attack was successful. Some numbers from the last 7 days. I made a report today. So we collected net flows just from the HPC cluster, 1.5 million. It's not that much, I think. Events, 109,000, mainly firewall denies. some other things, but the interesting thing is offenses, 0. But it's a positive thing that to have 0 offenses. But why is it like that? Most attacks are only visible on the system itself, like recently shell shock. I think you gave me this paper, Mikael. It's an extract from the Apache log. As you can see, they tried to exploit the shell shock bash vulnerability. So what tells us this information? It's crucial to know from which information you get, or from which information you can get the information you need to create the offense. Something like that. Let's say if we, I come to that in a later slide, sorry. So what could we do? We could do IDS, IPS, next generation firewall, that's all the fancy things, the fancy cloud things, so Threat Cloud or FireEye, the things there. Much more things. Then we could install a web application firewall. They could install a DNS firewall with the RPC feature, and much, much more. But what prevents us from doing it? First, money. Second, manpower. We're just 2 people doing all the stuff. And the main thing, we are not a bank. So the first goal for us is to get visibility into our network. And from that point, in future, we can go further. But actually, for us, the step from the old installation we had with just the syslog ng server and the little information we got to now the correlated information from all the data is a huge step. And the one box was affordable approach because IBM made a good price. What do we have to do in the next few weeks or in the next year? As you said, as you have seen before, the problem is that we need all the information from the box itself and from the network to make a good correlation. As more information we have, the better the correlation will be. So we have together look and get all the data from the boxes itself into our correlation system. For that, we first have to build the new logging monitoring infrastructure with the Elasticsearch, Logstash, and the Graylog front end. After that, centrally collect all data into our huge logging system, and from that, forward the information that is security relevant, like user login, Apache logs, and so on, to the correlation engine, which then makes the correlation and gives us an alert if an incident occurs. Alerts can be email, SNMP trap, or whatever else. And another thing, but that's out of the focus here, is clean up our firewall rule base. Okay. Actually, I'm right in time. I hope this gave you a little insight into our approach to get visibility of the network and also get information from the data from the network to create alerts. Thank you very much. Questions from your side?